On Lazy Sundays this week, I'm going to be sharing with you the 2017 Japanese movie, Hirunaka no Ryuusei, also known as Daytime Shooting Star, which is based on a manga about a country girl who transfers to the big city of Tokyo for high school. This movie stars Nagano as our naive female lead, Yosano Suzume. Shirahama Adam plays Suzume's classmate Mamura Daiki, and to complete our love triangle, Miura Shohei plays Shishio Satsuki. Since Suzume's parents had gone overseas for work, she arrives in Tokyo and is completely lost. She declares, "Tokyo is another dimension." While on a break and when looking to the sky, she sees a daytime shooting star. Feeling dizzy, she tips backwards, falling into the arms of a stranger. The stranger happens to know her uncle and brings her to his shop. He introduces him as Shishio, his junior from college. He is intrigued by her name Suzume, which means sparrow, giving her the nickname Chun-chun, which stands for chirp chirp in Japanese. On her first day of school, she's shocked to hear a voice call out Chun-chun. Shishio appears, introducing himself as her teacher. He seats her next to the unfriendly classmate Mamura. While sharing his textbook, she grazes his hand by mistake, as he pulls back abruptly, causing her to be surprised. At lunch, lonely Suzume heads to the rooftop. Shishio appears, cheering her up by giving her tips on how to make new friends. If that doesn't work, they can have lunch together. At the end of the day, Suzume bumps into Mamura at the Cubbies and decides to take Shishio's advice. She thanks him for the textbook earlier, as he nods and turns to leave. She reaches out and touches him, but doing so caused him to flinch and turn a deep shade of red. Turns out he has a fear of girls, which she confirms with a series of pokes. She agrees to keep his secret on the condition that they become friends. He agrees, telling her to call him Mamura from now on. The next morning, Suzume and Mamura walk to class together, shocking his classmates. After all, he's never seen with girls. When his friends approach him regarding teaming up for the field trip, Suzume asks if she could join them. During this time, Nekota Yuuka introduces herself to Suzume and asks to be her friend. Agreeing right away, they join Mamura's group together for the trip. It's obvious that Yuuka joined their team to get close to Mamura, but he ends up ignoring her, opting to talk to Suzume instead. This angers Yuuka, and she makes up a lie, sending Suzume deep into the mountains to gather firewood. Suzume loses her way, but things brighten up when Mamura appears, having seen her walk away from the group earlier. The two of them get closer while trying to find their way back, when Mamura tells her that the reason he doesn't like being around girls is because they're annoying, and since his mom left when he was young, he's not used to it. Rain starts to pour down and the two of them find shelter nearby as he gives her his jacket. However, Suzume's caught a fever, her head falling down on Mamura's shoulder without warning. Despite being uncomfortable, he lets her stay. They end up being found by Shishio, who overreacts a bit, running over to Suzume, calling out her nickname. She thanks him for saving her as he carries her back. Mamura finds their exchange a bit odd, but follows along. Back at the lodge, Suzume finds out that Yuuka had lied to her, but doesn't tell Shishio. They share a moment as he turns off the lights and opens a box full of fireflies that float into the room like stars. Suzume is touched by the gesture and seems shy by how close Shishio is when he checks her temperature. Back at school, Suzume and Yuuka start a physical fight in the gym. While shouting at one another, she finds out that Yuuka was jealous of how close she was to Mamura, and discovers her crush on him. At that moment, Mamura and his friends arrive at the gym, and witness a fallen Suzume, but she quickly covers up for Yuuka. This starts an unlikely friendship between Suzume and Yuuka. The next day, Yuuka gives Suzume a makeover and teaches her about how it feels to love someone. Love is not a theory. If you're close to that person, you'll know it. Suzume runs off to the classroom when she realizes she left her phone there. Shishio is about to enter the classroom and she quickly hides behind the curtain, not ready to show him her new makeover. Recognizing her shoes, he lifts the curtain up and seems taken aback by her new look. She quickly dismisses herself and runs outside, where she bumps into Mamura, who also seems to be pleasantly surprised by her makeover. On the weekend, Shishio bumps into Suzume and helps her with heavy groceries. She talks about the things she likes, which includes fish, the aquarium, and shooting stars. Excitedly talking about how dazzling the daylight star was, she tells him that, to her, he's like a daytime shooting star. Her feelings towards Shishio have clearly blossomed while she steals glances at him from the empty classroom window. He returns her attention with a smile, causing her to feel giddy inside. Mamura happens to enter the classroom and notices her expression. As she was about to head home, he calls out to her and plants a kiss on her cheek, surprising both himself and her as he quickly leaves. Christmas comes along, and after the party Suzume and her friends had at her uncle's shop, Mamura ends up bringing her to the city square. He questions if she's going to meet up with Shishio later, and she finds out that he's caught on to her feelings. "Isn't it a bit cliche to fall in love with your teacher?" he teases, and says that she's just a normal girl after all, wanting to meet up with her crush on Christmas. But she says there's more to it. It actually happens to be her birthday. Since she kept it a secret, he ends up taking the scarf he was wearing and gifting it to her. Touched by his warm actions, she brings up the kiss from the other day. Knowing she doesn't return his feelings, he says there wasn't any meaning behind it. Though Shishio had told her earlier that he was too busy with work to meet, he makes time, and the two meet back at the shop. She gives him a sushi tie, and he gives her tickets to the aquarium, and the two decide to go together the next day. Out of nowhere she sneezes, and when he hands her a tissue, the two almost share a kiss. However, they opt for a walk in the neighborhood instead, and Suzume's uncle sees them from afar. Clearly sensing something between them, he contacts Shishio without Suzume's knowledge and tells him to keep his distance. Early the next morning, Mamura confronts Shishio at school and tells him to stop playing with Suzume's feelings. Suzume was actually supposed to confess to Shishio yesterday, but since she forgot to, she heads to his office and confesses to him. He thanks her, but tells her to stop, and cancels the aquarium date, telling her that she feels adoration towards him, not love, to discourage her. She declares that their moments together must have meant something, but he says, "I didn't love you after all. Sorry." Mamura waits for her at the cubbies and she cries, telling him that Shishio turned her down. He wraps her in a hug and tells her, "You should have just fallen in love with me." To her horror, Yuuka sees this exchange and she pushes him off, running after her dear friend, leaving Suzume feeling like she's lost everything. She narrates, "If I was going to hurt everyone this way, I shouldn't have just fallen in love." Wanting a break from everything, Suzume heads back to her hometown as her mom had come back for a visit. She skips days of school, and though her mom knows something is up, she doesn't ask. One evening, Mamura and Yuuka show up at her door, declaring that the only way to contact her was to come all the way here, since she's been ignoring their messages. They end up staying the night, and Suzume apologizes. Yuuka says she wasn't upset by the hug, but because she never tells her things. Suzume says she didn't want to hurt her, but Yuuka tells her that being friends means going through happy and sad times together, filling her in that she confessed, and Mamura turned her down properly. Later that evening, she heads to the living area and sees Mamura is still up. He's sorry for his actions that day, and she says she can't return his feelings. He understands, but asks her to return to school. Seeing how mature her friends are, she sets a new goal for herself. "I've decided that the next time I cry, it won't be because of someone, but because of happiness." Returning to school for her 3rd year, she gets a new start with a new teacher. However, a new year means new students, and the freshman girls are obsessed with Mamura, calling him the sadistic prince. Suzume realizes she finds this uncomfortable, and Yuuka tells her she's feeling jealous. This confuses Suzume since she had turned him down. Mamura's friends come up with a plan that one of the girls could be his fake girlfriend to get rid of his unwanted admirers. They suggest Suzume, but Mamura says he doesn't need her help. Oddly, Suzume doesn't like his answer, grumbling to the pet fish in the middle of the school hall. She's approached by Shishio, but before they can start a conversation, Mamura appears and declares that the two of them are dating now. Suzume gets annoyed, since earlier he had said that he didn't need her, but he only leans in, telling her that if she's going to be his fake girlfriend, she better do a good job. The plan ends up working, and to thank her, Mamura gives her tickets to the aquarium. They enjoy their time together, and Mamura is happy to see Suzume smile. While on an escalator, she admires the underwater view, as he looks fondly upon the back of her head, till she turns around, taking the both of them by surprise. After their date, Mamura apologizes, saying that he can't help being in love with her, and confesses, telling her to think about it before giving him a reply. Early the next day, she dashes over to Mamura's house with her answer. She explains that her feelings for him and Shishio are totally different. With Shishio, her heart is always beating and she's happy next to him. It felt like love. With Mamura, she can have fun, be herself, and lean on him at her lowest times. She apologizes and he accepts, assuming this is the 2nd time he gets rejected by the same girl. But instead, she tells him that if he's okay with dating her despite her feeling this way, they can give it a try. He replies with a soft smile. "I'll treasure you just as I always have. I'll be under your care." After leaving Mamura's place, Suzume realizes she's crying. She recalls the promise to herself, and declares that this time she's crying for both happiness and someone. Sports day is around the corner, and Mamura, being a fast runner, gets chosen for the baton relay. Suzume joins prep team, and unbeknownst to her, is led by Shishio. She stays late, customizing a headband for Mamura. Shishio tells her that he won't be happy to receive it. She tries to avoid him though, and starts to pack up, getting ready to leave. Out of nowhere, he calls her Jun-jun, before quickly apologizing. Suzume attempts to leave the classroom hurriedly, but bumps into a table, losing her balance. Shishio catches her, but instead of letting go, pulls her into a back hug before she pushes him off. On sports day, Suzume is distracted about what happened between her and Shishio. When gifting Mamura the headband, she tells him not to let her go. When the baton relay starts, Suzume and Yuuka are shocked to see Shishio as the faculty team's anchor, the last runner of the relay, which also happens to be her boyfriend's position. The objective of the race has now turned into a battle for Suzume's affections. Although Mamura wins, he catches Suzume's gaze linger on Shishio before congratulating him on his win. Suzume declares in narration that her feelings are starting to waver, and she's unsure who she was actually cheering for, her boyfriend or her first crush. Back in the classroom, an optional study trip was being planned. Mamura initially wasn't interested, but Suzume tells him she wants them to go together. During their trip, Shishio visits her uncle and tells him he has decided to stop holding back his feelings. While on the trip, things are a bit awkward between Mamura and Suzume. While on a call with her uncle, she finds out that Shishio is in the hospital from an accident. Mamura tells her to go, knowing that she still has feelings for him. At the train station, she receives a text from Mamura. "Thanks for going out with me. Goodbye, idiot." At the hospital, we find out that Shishio was only in a minor accident and was totally fine. Suzume approaches him and explains that she had stopped thinking about him the day he turned her down. But when she heard he was in the hospital, she opened that part of her heart again. However, she now knows that the person she wants to cherish with her love right now is not him. Shishio, knowing it's too late, thanks her for communicating her feelings to him, because that counts as cherishing someone, something he couldn't do. She declares that no matter what, her feelings for him weren't adoration, and because of that, he will always be her first love. Back at the study trip, Mamura sulks alone. She calls out his name, but he thinks he's hearing things. In Suzume fashion, she runs towards him and trips, causing them both to fall down. She apologizes, explaining that she's been avoiding Shishio because she was worried her feelings would return. But now she realizes that no matter what, she's always thinking of Mamura. They share their first and second kiss and confess their love for one another. The movie ends with Suzume's voiceover about the dazzling, shining, beautiful daytime shooting star she once saw. Whether you see them or not, they're always there. And now she's found a daytime shooting star that she can call her own. But if she told him, he would just say she's being annoying again. How did you like the movie? For me, personally, I really enjoyed this film because a lot of my favorite scenes from the manga were adapted really well, and I felt it carried the same feeling I experienced when reading it. The cast was pretty stellar in their roles, my favorite being Nagano because she acted and looked exactly what I envisioned Suzume to be like. Her chemistry with Mamura was so on point for me. The transition from forcing him to be her friend, his awkwardness around girls, his annoyance but unending care for her, to them finally being a true couple was done really well. And although this was a movie, I felt like it fleshed out their characters very detailedly because I could really sense them growing as a person and maturing throughout the film. This is also evident between Yuyuka and Suzume's growing friendship, and even how Mamura opened up to her in the end, which I felt was really realistic and relatable. Did any of you think that she was going to end up with Shishio? I remember being so worried when she ran back to visit Shishio when I read the manga, because if it isn't obvious already, I ship her with Mamura. I fully understand Suzume's crush on Shishio, because he was the first one to be friendly towards her, looked out for her, and was a person who was confident and comfortable being the way he was. On the other hand, she was a shy, awkward country girl, trying to fit into the big city. And though I know these two also have a lot of fans, I still find the power dynamic uncomfortable, especially since he's her teacher, her uncle's friend, and she's also underaged. In the film, I also thought his competitiveness with Mamura was a bit weird, since he's an adult trying to challenge his student for his other student's affection. If any of you prefer their ship, please let me know in the comments why you like them better. Or I've also seen some comments with fans who like Shishio in the manga but not in the film. Feel free to let me know why if you feel this way. The reason I really like Mamura with Suzume is because their relationship is fun and youthful, while still being mature and respectful. I think the perfect way to sum this up is my favorite scene, the one where she runs to his house and tells him her feelings. There are a lot of teasing moments in this, like when Mamura thinks he's about to get rejected and she tells him otherwise, and the part where he says he'll treasure her like he always has. Their relationship is very sweet and cute to me, and if you're craving more moments between these two, I highly recommend you read the manga as well. If you're a fan of these two, please leave me comments so we can fangirl together. If you enjoyed the movie, please like, comment, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell for next week's Lazy Sundays with me.